It's been a very challenging year with global discussions focusing on reforms to ODA and the international financial architecture. What are your takeaways and the lessons learned?
I think this year our bluff has been called because a lot of us say we want to work ourselves out of a job. We know that ODA is sunsetting, and we want countries to not have to rely on development cooperation in the future. But the way in which development cooperation has been really butchered rapidly in a kind of vandalistic way has been a bit of a shock. There are some sparks of light here, and it's forced us to really think about how do we do development cooperation differently. Not more with less, but better with less. In many ways, we've begun to rise to the challenge. We have the Haddad process, which I'm really optimistic about. We have the UN reform, which I hope will make UN function better and be more efficient and more supportive and more connected. I feel like the donors are looking at ways to coordinate and collaborate more. We're seeing the IFIs and the DFIs really step up during the Nutrition for Growth Summit, for example. The community is responding and responding well.
Now, Lawrence, as a member of the Donor Platform's high-level advisory group, what made the group meaningful to you? What were your reflections on the development of the group-led white paper? And lastly, how should the donor community act on the recommended action areas?
It was a real privilege to be part of the high-level group. I learned a lot. The discussions we had were open and transparent and really helped me clarify some of my own thoughts about financing food security, nutrition and agriculture. And my own thoughts clarified in a way that it was quite simple in the end. There are people who don't invest, who don't even consider investing in agriculture, food and nutrition. We have to understand why they don't. Then there are people who do invest in that sector, but invest really in the wrong things. So you have to figure out how we can convince them to begin changing that. And there are people who do invest in the sector and do invest in the right things, but their efforts are small and not scaled. So how do we scale up? So I think that the discussion really helped me clarify my thinking, and I don't think I would have been able to get to that place without the high-level panel. I think the high-level panel made the case for why it's important to invest in agriculture and food security better than I've ever seen it done before. It zeroed in on a few key areas where I think we can do more. And I like the fact that the IFIs and the DFIs were involved. Yes, they don't reach the poorest of the poorest, but the most fragile, but they reach lots of people who are experiencing hunger, and their resource flows are not quite as volatile as ODA because they have the capacity to generate at least some of their income. So I think it's pretty clear what they need to do, the donors, is to take forward the actions they need to leverage the resource flows, bigger resource flows they need to catalyze, and they need to gear into those areas. But it's easy to say that, but it's hard to do that. So donors have to somehow find flexibility within their own mechanisms, which sometimes hamstring them from working with other donors. And everyone's got slightly different reporting requirements, reporting cycles, different constraints, different silos. We're asking governments to break down the silos within their own government, but we have to do the same thing. And in addition, we need to take a few more risks. And that means that not everything we do will succeed. And to get the general public comfortable with that, we have to make the case about why ag and food systems are so important to promote prosperity, security, and safety.
Now's the moment to start doing that.
And yesterday was the moment to start doing that. So we need to accelerate.
What value does the donor platform's informal donor coordination space offer in today's unpredictable and rapidly changing environment?
Well, I think informality is always good because you can maybe speak a bit more freely. You can interact. So much of communication is not what you say; it's the non-verbal part of communication, and that really comes through. It speeds up dialogue, solution generation, and I think it sparks creativity. The more we talk to each other in an informal way, the better, really.
And last but not least, what are some hopeful signals you see for 2026?
My wife's a child psychologist, and she says there are 4 responses to trauma. And let's face it, we've been through some trauma this year. It's freeze, fawn, flight, or fight. We're beginning to fight back. We're beginning to see ourselves as agents of the future and not just recipients of the future. And I see lots of green shoots all over the place. So I think the fight back has begun. Global Donor Platform is a space where solutions that we haven't even thought of can be created, improved, and speedily enacted. It wouldn't happen without the platform.